Welcome to Greek for a Week. We are considering chapter 2, verses 9 and 10 of 1 Thessalonians. Again, continuing the paragraph of chapter 2, verses 1 through 12, which is Paul's example of ministry to the Thessalonian church. So if you'll look here, verse 9, as well as verse 10, verse 9 starts with a gar, and we'll talk more about that in just a moment. But there is a close connection to the rest of the paragraph using the conjunction gar. So Paul says, "For you remember, brethren, our labor and hardship while working night and day for the purpose of not to be a burden to any of you. We proclaimed to you the gospel of God. You yourselves are witnesses, and God, how devoutly and justly and blamelessly we were to you, the ones who believe." Again, there's a gar here in verse 9, and that gar again is providing further explanation of Paul's ministry, and it's describing his character to the Thessalonians. So he's helping them see that you recall, you remember just exactly how we behaved among you. So we have the mene menuete. So this verbal form here in verse 9 is a second person plural, present active indicative of mene manuo. And then you have your participle here, the erga zamenoi. So we have that participle, present middle participle. It's plural, nominative, and masculine of ergazomai. And I'm saying it's likely a temporal participle. So I suggested in the translation, while working night and day. Then the pros ta, and then here's our infinitive. Though the infinitive is negated, it's pra, tas, and then plus the infinitive, which will probably be a purpose infinitive construction. That's where Paul is claiming that they worked night and day for the purpose of not being a burden to any of you. Then you have here the final verbal form, which is the first person plural, aorist active indicative of keruso. So in this particular verse here, again, Paul's helping them recall and remember what it is that they did, specifically that they worked night and day to not be a burden. Verse 10, have an emphatic pronoun at the beginning, you yourselves. And then here, you are witnesses, and God also. He's saying God also is a witness. 2, and then he gives several adverbs of manner. Okay, so here's our list, and you can notice the adverbs here with the os ending. So each one of these describe and demonstrate how Paul behaved. And then you have a adjectival participle here, the tois pistousin. So that participle is a present active participle, plural, dative, masculine of pistouo, and that would be an attributive participle attributing a quality to the you, and that you there, you It's to the ones who believe, which is you. So I hope that's been helpful. That's verses 9 and 10. We will look at verses 11 and 12 to wrap up this paragraph next week. And then the following week, we will probably diagram just verses 9 through 12. And I might have a separate diagram that brings the entire passage together. Have a great week. See you next week.